Today, I wanted to take you back to where it all began, to where my journey in cycling and where my weight loss journey first began. I'm going to paint you a portrait of what my journey has been like, losing 100 pounds, going from 260 to 160 pounds, and finding love in a sport that I never dreamed of ever competing in, let alone being an athlete in the first place. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. Yeah, I started at 260 pounds. That was the biggest I ever got back in 2021. When you live a life where you're really hiding, it's very difficult. And there's no other way to explain it, really. It's not fun. In 2 words, it sucked. I don't really like thinking about it. Let's put it that way. And if you talk to anybody else who's ever lost a significant amount of weight, they don't like thinking about what they used to be like. For me, like, that feels so long ago, and it feels like a totally different person I'm even talking about. Totally different habits and dreams and goals and just daily routines. It really, people don't frame weight loss in the regard enough that it is a total transformation of one's mind, body, and soul. You are becoming a new person. You are being reborn. You are rewriting the script. And until you do that, life sucks because you know you want it so bad, but you just can't figure out how to get it. It's interesting what you do to hide. It really is. You learn how to be funny. You learn how to mock yourself really well. You learn how to distract people from the fact that you really don't like yourself and that you feel like you have nothing to offer. As sad as dark as it can sound, it's really the truth. We find laughter and we find the ability to tell jokes and make others laugh through pain. And the pain I was experiencing was being so uncomfortable in my body that the only way I could do that was to project that, not negatively, but literally just to make people laugh, because that would make me feel better. And sadly, when there's nobody around, that's when things really get dark. That's when you really, really loathe yourself. And it's a very, very dark place to be. I really classify my breaking point as I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And if you're at a point where you don't like yourself and you want to change, but you just can't find the strength to do it, then you are simply not sick and tired enough of being sick and tired. That is rock bottom. That is where you have absolutely nowhere to go but up. No matter how low that is. It doesn't mean you have to balloon up to 260 pounds or 300 pounds or 600 pounds. Like, your rock bottom is just whenever you deem yourself too sick and tired of being like this, of living this way, of literally not being able to function without making a change. I don't think I can wake up tomorrow without making a change today. I need to do something now. And for me, that wasn't really a huge, urgent, like, I didn't throw everything out in my cabinets. I didn't, go out for an epic 15-mile run. I did go out for a run, but I think it lasted about half a mile. It was the dead of winter, and it was freezing outside. And yep, I laced up. I don't even know if I had running shoes at the time. I might have had some like really cheap shoes that I got because I was working in the trades, so I didn't want to get like a nice pair of shoes dirty. And I think I laced those up. They were probably like some like really cheap Asics that I bought, just throwaway shoes. And I hit the open road for about a mile total. Didn't run the whole time. Ran about half the time. Was panting on the way back. I ran from my apartment to a bench at a park that overlooked the water where I live. And I was just like, man, this is really where we're at. This is the life that we're living. At that point, it's just, that was it. That was my rock bottom. Just wanting to be different so bad and saying, I've had enough and I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to ask anybody. I'm I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do something. And it's going to work because I'm literally at the point of I cannot do this anymore. I have to do something. That's how you know you're at your breaking point. Yeah, to start, I downloaded the calorie counting app. I downloaded MyFitnessPal. I think I've had an account on there since I was like 15, but didn't really start using it religiously until I was 21. I know the, sentiment on calorie counting is kind of mixed, and should you do it, should you not do it? Well, at the start, you kind of have to. And you have to realize like what you're actually eating. Because at the time, I mean, you don't know what a serving size is. You might think you do. You might think you know what 28 grams of chips is. Like that's typically what it is, 30 grams. You don't. You think you ate 20 pretzels. You probably ate 50. We're not very good at, this pure, like conscious mental calorie counting, I guess I would call it. We're very bad at it. That's why there's all these apps and these different ways to do it. We need that. We need the accountability. We're not very good at rounding up or rounding down. We think, I had like this, and this for breakfast. So I'm going to eat this for lunch, and then I'll have this for dinner, and then it'll be 2,000 calories. I really doubt it. It's definitely more like 3,000 or 4,000. Like the amount that I was consuming, I mean, I don't even know. And like, I had that time period where I thought I was being healthy. You're doing all these things right, but you're simply just eating too much of it. And I also just, I went to the gym. I got a Planet Fitness Black member card because you got to get the Black member card. And I started going. And I really forced myself to do it, but I still did it. And I at least got my foot in the door doing something. This was before I had a bike and before I was cycling. So I had to do something. I couldn't just do nothing. I had to wake up. That aerobic system that I haven't been using so much. That cardiovascular system that's been resting for years and years. I had plenty of struggles. I mean, I probably had about 4 long plateaus along the way. I'd plateau for a week, maybe even a month. I think as we go along, especially with calorie counting and eating, we think we know what we're doing. Like I mentioned it before. We think we know what 4 ounces of chicken is, but you're probably eating more like 6 or 8. You're probably eating double. Honestly, like a good way to look at it is you're probably eating double. And that's what it was with me. So every time I get on the scale, I'll be like, man, I'm hitting my calorie, intake number, and I'm going to the gym. I'm doing all these things right, but the scale isn't going down, or it's going up, or it's just sitting at this number. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, no. It's got to be, the scale's got to be broken. Like literally like, the floor has got to be uneven or squishy. So it's like adding more weight or something. Like you will say the craziest things to get yourself out of, nope, I'm just eating too much. You will say whatever it takes to get yourself out of that line of thinking, because it can't be you. That's what you learn along the way. Like it can't be you. So it has to be some other factor. But as soon as I would tighten up the calories and I would really be conscious and weigh my food correctly, not, grazing as I was cooking, the weight started to fall back off. Yes, along the way, I was, lowering the calorie intake that I was eating every day because your basal metabolic rate goes down and you need less to operate. When you're bigger, you need more to operate. When you're smaller, you need less. So as you lose weight, you eat less, and you learn that along the way. I learned it literally probably 4 or 5 times along the way that, I'm just eating too much. It's that simple. That part of it is simple. Yeah, I would definitely say drinking heavily was a massive struggle of mine. I got into this really terrible habit of taking the weekend off. I would do all the work during the week. I'd be great about counting calories. I'd be exercising. I'd ride my bike, and then the weekend, wouldn't get on the bike, wouldn't run, wouldn't go to the gym. I'd simply work for the weekend, work out for the weekend, and then just go crazy and then start over on Monday. And, you you can get away with that for a little while, but one, if you're not working out on the weekends, and if you're a endurance athlete like I was becoming, and you're not riding on the weekends, you're doing it wrong, okay? That's when you have time. That's when you have time to do a long ride. But, you know, if you're working for the weekend and you're partying, going hard on the weekend, and if you're just eating all the calories that you saved and put yourself in a deficit, and if you're eating and drinking like a madman on the weekends and putting all those back on, guess what? You're not going to lose any weight. You're going to lose weight for 5 days, water weight, and then you're going to put it right back on. And you're going to do this over and over again. It's going to be a staggering staircase, or really just a up and down. That's what it's going to be. Monday to Friday. And then Saturday, Sunday don't exist for the scale. I really started to see huge fitness gains and more weight loss when I stopped drinking. And I stopped drinking not because there was a gun to my head, not because I had some intervention and I had an issue. While, yes, I had a plenty of rough evenings, I didn't stop because somebody made me. I said, you know what? This isn't doing it for me anymore. I want to ride my bike. I want to feel good. I want to feel good on a Saturday morning. I want to feel good on a Sunday morning. During the summertime, on a Sunday or a Saturday, I want to wake up at 6 a.m. and go for a 50, 60, 70-mile ride. No problem. I want to get ahead of everybody. You know, I want to be better. So I let it go. And I've been sober for about 2.5 years now, and it's been great. Don't miss it at all. And another thing, I mean, I'll add, you know, drinking was fun for a while, and then drinking started to dredge up all the insecurities I had, and that I had to work through and I had to deal with. And it would make me go from having a great time to crying on the dance floor, crying at the club, crying in my bathroom, literally. I mean, I'm not even afraid to say it because it's so real. And it's so important to mention that just because society tells you to do something like drinking, you don't have to. If you don't like it, don't do it. You know, that's the whole sentiment of this journey is like, I don't want to overeat anymore. I don't want to drink anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. I want to be better. It takes a lot, and it takes a very strong person to actually do that and say that. It is unbelievable when I think back how much I've changed. There's so many things, and so many things I can't even remember right now. I mean, just the person you were is not the person you're going to be, or the person that you are now. Your priorities are different. The way you think is different. Your mental clarity, just what you deem valuable in life is different. The self-confidence that you have, and the way you look at yourself, and the way you look at the world. It's so different than when you started and where you were. I think the first thing that comes to mind, because weight loss and food, is taste change. I mean, my God. When you get yourself off of the standard American diet and eating ultra-processed foods all the time, I mean, you are completely changing the way that you taste food, that you react to food, and the things that you actually want to eat. And it's not some surface level thing. It is real. It is what you crave, what you seek. It's what you won't eat. It's what you will only eat. I mean, it's crazy. It is crazy. I literally went from somebody who wouldn't touch a vegetable to being plant-based. I mean, I honestly think that's the only thing I have to say. I went from not eating vegetables to only eating vegetables, only eating plant-based foods, literally, like being a plant-based athlete. Like, it is crazy. I think it's really important to mention also that while you're eating ultra-processed foods all the time, you don't see it as these foods are like a drug, but they are. They absolutely are. How they control you cannot be understated. How they controlled me, how it's literally like craving a hit of a drug. The sugar, salt, streamlining, mainlining, it is real. And being on the other side of that, it it really is like sad to see where a lot of people are, because they don't understand, and I didn't understand at the time, that these foods literally take control of you. And they make it so you don't want to eat vegetables, that you don't want to eat real food. I wish I had a graph of how I started to eat less of ultra processed foods and how the craving and desire for whole foods and vegetables rose. It'd probably be like ultra processed foods going down, and then at some point that the whole foods would meet, and it'd be some sort of inception point where the tide turned, and that's when I really started to do it full time, and I prioritize eating whole foods and eating good things and seeing the value in what eating those good things can do for you. This whole journey has just been a gift in the way that my priority now is to take care of myself. My priority is to ride my bike. My priority is to eat good food. It's incredible to turn into a person that is now literally the athlete that you always wanted to be. I mean, I wanted to be an athlete, a real athlete, a successful athlete, a strong athlete, more than anything growing up. But I never got there. I never peaked. I was never, ever in good shape. I mean, it just didn't happen for me. I wasn't ready to do it. I didn't know how to do it. I did have like a little bit of a weight loss thing in high school, but guess what? I did the keto diet, and you can only starve yourself from carbs for a very limited amount of time. Let's put it that way. And then as soon as you get a taste for those carbs back, well, you're restricting calories because you're restricting carbs. And then when you reintroduce that macronutrient, you're going to eat a lot more. And I got fat. I actually got bigger than I was before. The confidence you have when you're out in public, how people treat you, it really is just night and day. It really is. When you can tell somebody that you are a cyclist and you cycle 100 miles on the weekends, you do century rides, you want to be an ultra rider, you want to be a gravel racer, they light up. They have respect for you. And that's not necessarily just an ego trip for yourself. That is literally like affirming to yourself and maybe your ego that, yeah, man, like I'm actually worth a damn, and I contribute to society, and I'm not the person I was before. It's the good side of your ego. It's not some power trip. It is self-assurance and self-actualization in its purest form. I mean, being where I am now, I can literally do anything. Literally do anything. There's very little that I would say, oh, no, I can't do that too. Maybe at first, my first reaction is a little bit fear-based. And I'd say, I don't know, like maybe I'm not. But deep inside, that voice would come up and say, no, man, think about all the stuff that you've done so far. You can do literally anything. Any epic journey you want to go on, any epic bike ride you want to go on, any race, anything you think you can't compete in, you absolutely can. You can do anything. You can talk to anybody. You can get any job you want. You can persuade anybody in the way you want. You can have all the self-confidence in the world now because you allowed yourself to grow and to change and to become the person that you've always wanted to be. I would say the one thing that I really did right was everything along the way I let happen naturally. Nothing was forced. Nothing was, ultimatum. Everything was, I did every single thing because it was time and I wanted to. I just went where my gut led me. I did the right things at the right time for the right reasons. Nobody forced me. There was no doctor telling me I had to do this and that. My mom, my dad wasn't telling me I had to do this or that. It was just because it was time. It was time for me to lose weight. I hit that rock bottom point. It was time for me to let go of certain foods because they weren't serving me anymore. That's really the way I look at it is, was that thing serving me? Is this thing serving me? No. So, okay, I don't need it. Along the way, there were countless foods And things like cheese. Cheese is where my mind goes first, because when I started, I would put cheese on everything. I love cheese. I still love cheese, even if I don't eat it anymore. Literally, I would put it on anything and everything that would deem cheese palatable with that food. But there came a time where, especially when you're counting calories, you start to prioritize different foods. And cheese lost its luster for me. I can let it go. It's going to taste fine without it. So that's how I let go of cheese. I did it for plenty of other things. And that's how you do it naturally. That's how you do it right. You don't force yourself to give it up. You just say, okay, it's time. It's time to let it go. It's time to choose something else. It's time to do something different. Even with cycling wasn't the plan. Cycling wasn't my New Year's resolution. Cycling was just something that kind of fell into my lap. Cycling is just what happened, essentially. And it's what happened for all the right reasons. So that's a perfect segue. Perfect segue into this next topic. Yeah, it wasn't the plan at the beginning. Along the way, I inherited an old bike from my dad. It was I think a 2000 KHS steel frame hog of a bike. 2x9 shifting, just a gem. He still has it. It's in his garage now. I don't have it. I wish I should get it to hang it up on my wall, but I don't have it with me. Literally, on the first ride on that bike, I was out riding, made it 3 miles. And I went to shift gears to the biggest cog in the rear, and I slammed the rear derailleur right into the spokes and shredded the wheel. Destroyed it. Ripped, I think, 6 or 7 spokes out of the rim. Bent the rim to holy hell. And actually had to flag down a good Samaritan to give me a ride home in his van. That was my first ride. And then that night I learned how to adjust a rear derailleur. So you have your limit screw set so you can't slam it into the wheel and off the cassette. And my dad was very kind enough to help me buy a new wheel. And I kept riding after that. Later down the line, actually for my 21st birthday, I asked for a smart trainer, actually the same one that I'm using now, to ride on Zwift. I think that was really my beginning in the sport. That's when I was able to build consistency and just fall in love with the sport, even if it was inside. And I didn't even have a fan when I started. Literally just cycling in my hot room, sweating all over my carpet and onto the bike. I liked it. It just felt right. There's very few things in life that really just feel right when you do it. And this was definitely one of them. Because it felt right, I was just able to keep doing it, and doing it with no resistance. Doing it because I wanted to, because I liked it, because I loved it. Even if I wasn't strong at the time, and I was probably at that point, I was about 240. So I was a whole lot bigger than I am now. And yeah, it wasn't comfortable sitting on that seat at the beginning, I'll tell you that. My butt hurt. But I kept going. I kept doing it. And, look where I am now. Cycling for me has just made me evolve in a way that I didn't think was possible. I don't know anybody else who really cycles. My dad, and I know one good guy from Ireland who I used to work with, who's a big cycling enthusiast. A little bit more culturally accepted over there. Nobody growing up. The only thing I was doing on a bike growing up was riding to a friend's house, riding around town on a hardtail mountain bike. That's it. There was no road cycling. I didn't know anybody who did it. But it gave me this avenue of, I'm doing something different. I'm doing something unique. I'm getting to be me. Riding this bike hundreds and thousands of miles a year. It just has completely transformed the way that I think about everything. And, it's just, my ceiling is just, I don't know where it is. I don't think I have one. And that's just the key, is to continue to think that you don't have a ceiling and continue to grow and have that growth mindset. And that's just what I have. I just have an ever-growing mindset that I will continue to get better and I will continue to improve. And I'm just getting started. Every day is day one, week one. Every day is my first ride on this trainer. Every day is an opportunity to grow. That's what this sport has done for me. Watching pro level cyclists do these incredible tours that they do and these massive, massive efforts. It's like, wow, am I capable of that? Maybe even a little bit of that? I'd like to think so. That'll keep me going. But it just like inspires you. That's the real like inspiration. Seeing other cyclists do these incredible things and riding out all over the world, literally around the world and across the country and all this across Europe, all these different things. It just gives you this massive perspective on what's possible. What makes weight loss stick? Weight loss is a highly individual journey, and you have to do it your way, and you have to do it the right way. This is about questioning how you became this way, from figuring out why you eat the way you do, why you have the relationships with food that you do, why you use food as a scapegoat from feeling pain and sadness and dealing with trauma. Why do I eat my feelings? What do I need to work on? What do I need to resolve? That's what this is about. Every time I had tried to lose weight before, all I would do is think about the food. Oh, I just have to eat less bread. I just have to eat less this. I have to eat more protein. No, you have to do the mental work. When you heal that trauma within, that's when you're going to start to see the changes. That's when I started to see the changes. When I figured out, man, why do I run for the fridge when I'm stressed? Why do I feel the way I do and then reach for the cupboard? Why does food make me feel better? When did it start making me feel better? Those are the questions that I don't think a lot of people are actually willing to ask themselves. You have to be able to be open with yourself and be honest with yourself and face those incredibly uncomfortable truths and situations that you've dealt with and gone through, and really start to observe how you react to things and how you react to feeling certain ways and what your actual reactions are. I think that at some point, these reactions to things like sadness, trauma, pain, they went from being a conscious decision to a unconscious decision. It went from that to an impulse. You don't even think about it. You just do it. And you can literally develop the same things in being healthy and working on yourself and resolving the trauma. But at that time, before, it was me just impulse reaching for the cabinet and the fridge and the freezer and eating something because it would make me feel better, because I was in so much pain that's what I chose to mask the pain and to relieve it. It's a mental journey, 100%. It is a mental journey. No matter what anybody says, it's not just because you're not moving enough and eating too much. When I think about what I do different, I think I nailed the weight loss thing. I think I nailed that. I made some mistakes, with the drinking and the working during the week and partying on the weekends, but I resolved those things. And I could say, yeah, like if I could just go back and from day one not do those things, then I would have lost the weight quicker. That would have been better. But then what would I have learned? Nothing. So I don't consider that something I did wrong. What I really think about is stuff on the bike. It's I wasn't doing enough strength and mobility at the time. And especially when you start moving your body daily from being static for so many years, yeah, you're going to start to feel those effects pretty quick if you don't take care of yourself in the right ways. If you don't stretch and do mobility and strength work, especially with endurance sports, it's going to catch up to you. And it did for me. I spent a good month or two in physical therapy for IT band issues. And yeah, I really wish I could have had that prevented. That would have been a lot better. Let's say that. Anytime you have to spend injured is time that you just regret so much in the moment. And now, being on the other side of it, I really prioritize stretching, rolling, mobility work, band work and strength work. So it's just a lesson learned. You have to look at this thing like you're just going to learn a whole lot. You're going to learn a whole lot of lessons. It's going to be a lot of pain, but on the other side of it is this knowledge that you have that nobody can ever take away from you. At the beginning, I was really nervous and apprehensive about eating on the bike and fueling because, what do you think from the gun? Oh, well, if I eat less, including on the bike, I'm just going to burn more fat, especially if I do a lot of zone 2, but that's not the case. That's not necessarily how it works. You have to fuel your body, especially when you're going from a static state to developing your aerobic engine and your fitness capacity. You have to fuel. Like, there's no negotiation about it. It's more important than ever now. I mean, these pro athletes taking in 90, 100, 120 plus grams of carbs an hour during these races, but it's just as important for us amateurs. It's just as important. You have to fuel yourself adequately, because if you don't, it will bite you in the ass, and that's when you're going to get hungry after you ride, and that's what would happen to me. I would be ravenous after I'd get off that bike, and it's not a hunger that you can tame for the time being. You can eat as much as you want, you can drink as much water as you want, but you're just going to still be hungry no matter what. And that's what would happen with me. One thing that I am just now realizing, and literally just realized, is that I should have and I need to give myself more grace and appreciate how far I've actually come since day one. I mean, I was looking back at the first activities that I was doing on my Strava or my Zwift account, and I'm like, wow, man, I remember when this 45-minute ride or this hour ride felt like I was riding to the moon and back. I remember how uncomfortable I was and how much it sucked. And now an hour ride is just, it's nothing. It's not even a thought. But back then it was the struggle of a lifetime. And now, the power I can put out now versus when I started, I think my FTP has increased almost 100 watts. Even the fact that I spent 21 years not being the athletic person I wanted to be, and just living a life in a way that I was a shell of myself. And now I've been cycling seriously for 4 years. I mean, I started really training in 2022. I mean, that's no time at all. Some people my age have literally been riding since they were 8, 6. They've been racing since they were 10. I mean, I've done a handful of races, and I've been riding and training seriously since I was 22. That's crazy. That's crazy to think I've come this far in that short amount of time. That's the thing I need to remember and to give myself more grace for, and to be more appreciative of, and be like, wow, that's pretty incredible. And to give myself some damn credit, because I've earned it. And to stop comparing myself to other people who have lived a totally different life than I have. In my daily life, I mean, I touched on it a little bit, but it really is night and day. It is night and day. How you feel, how you move, how people react to you, how people see you, how you view yourself. You're a new person who has the confidence that you longed for. You have that now. I waited a long time for people to treat me the way that they do now, and to not look at me like I need pity. It is an incredible feeling just every day knowing that everything that I have built, and I have worked for, and I've grinded out and developed an unstoppable mindset that just won't be tamed and won't be denied. You can only get that way from doing the incredible amount of hard work that it really takes to become literally unrecognizable. I mean, I've had people tell me several times, wow, I didn't recognize you. There are people who I haven't seen since 2020. If I saw them today, they wouldn't recognize me. And that's not some boastful thing to say. That's the truth. Because I've had people tell me several times, people from my hometown they see me and they don't really recognize me. It takes them a second. People who I used to work with, who I see on the street or at the store or whatever, and they see me from when I used to be a lot bigger, they don't really recognize me. And that's pretty incredible when you think about it, that you went from somebody who was one thing and now you are the opposite in a good way, in the best way. Like, that's pretty awesome. And I waited a long time for that, and I worked really hard for that. This is a fun one. There's a bunch of stuff along the way that I would say are some of my favorite things. But, man, I think one of the coolest things was the first time I stood on a podium, and then the second time I stood on the first place spot on the podium, and completing my first century ride off the bike. I'd say getting below 200 pounds. I stepped on the scale one day and it said 199.8, and wow. I didn't even think I could get below 200. I think a lot of people, and myself, when you're a certain way for a certain while and you're a big guy, you're a big kid growing up, you almost start to believe, or you do start to believe, that maybe this is just the way I'm supposed to be. Maybe I'm not supposed to be the athlete. Maybe I'm not supposed to be the ripped guy at the gym. Maybe I'm not supposed to be the self-confident one. I'm not supposed to be that guy. This is just my role. I'm supposed to be the guy who doesn't want to take his shirt off. I'm supposed to be this guy. And that's where I was for a long while. And then to see that I could have a 1 as the first digit on the scale was like life assuring. It was something I didn't think I could do at the beginning at all. Not a chance. That was pretty incredible. I think like my first goal was to literally get to like 220. And then I think I hit 220 and I was like, all right, let's just keep going. Like, there's no reason to stop. The goal, I think, was just there just to get me somewhere. You can't say, when I was 260, I was not saying I want to weigh 160. I didn't even know what that meant. I couldn't comprehend what 160 pounds would even feel like. Back to the cycling. Standing on that podium was pretty incredible. It's something, as an aspiring athlete and as an underachieving one growing up, it's something I wanted to do. Getting a first place medal, a first place trophy. It's something that eluded me for 23 years, or 24 years. The first time I got second place, and the second time I got first place. And that was at the Highlands Grand Fondo in Butler, New Jersey. I did the medial route, which is 60 miles. Still has like 4,000 feet of climbing, still a lot of climbing. And those New Jersey hills are relentless. They are just walls. They're not very long. They're not mountain climbs, but they are double-digit percentages, and they kill your legs. They are short, they are punchy, and they are unrelenting. And I took second and then first place. And to stand on that podium was incredible. To actually raise my arms in the air and be that athlete was incredible. And then the next year, did my first 100-miler, did the first century at that same ride, which had like 7,000 feet of climbing, which is a lot for somebody who hasn't been doing this sport for a while. And they're short, punchy climbs. They're not like 5-6% gradients. No, they're like 10, 12, 15. I think the steepest one I hit was like 19. It is a wall in front of you. And just grinding those gears for 5 hours. And I took 10th place in that one for my age group in the time segments, the time segment totals. Those events are really cool. If you've never done like a cycling event and you want to get into like some form of racing and competing and riding with literally hundreds of people at once, those rides are awesome. And I'm going to go back this year and hopefully do even better. But yeah, those are definitely some of my favorite memories. some final advice I would definitely give is don't don't do this for the attention. Don't do this for the epic story about how you lost X amount of weight in X amount of time. Don't do that. Do this at your own pace. Do it for you. Grow. Do it for you. Don't seek others' approval. Don't listen to what other people have to say about it. Just do it for you. Okay? That's the key. The key is to grow for yourself, by yourself, internally, doing that mental work, creating new relationships with food and just with your own self. Don't do this for the social media attention. I did not do this to share my story on social media. I tell you that. I did this because I needed to. I did this because it was right. That's really the biggest piece of advice I can give, is the only way to do this is humbly, by yourself, quietly, and the right way the first time. Because if you don't do it right the first time, you don't do that mental work, you're going to yo-yo. You're going to do it over and over, and you're going to get mad at yourself, and you're going to resent yourself, and you're going to be so confused as to why it doesn't work, and why it's not working for you, and why it feels like it's only you who can't lose the weight. Okay, don't go out and seek that magic pill. Don't go out and seek that perfect secret workout routine. The one recipe you'll only ever need. It's not there. It's not a thing. Don't fall for the gimmick, okay? The best stories and the best weight loss success stories specifically are the boring ones. The ones where it took me 3 years to do this. And it's never going to go away. It's never going to change. I'm a new person. What's next? The sun, moon, and the stars. I'm going to ride from here to Jupiter. Definitely not going to give up this YouTube journey I'm on. Not going to give up cycling for anything. You're going to have to cut my legs off. And even at that point, I'm still going to find a way to ride the bike. Just endless growth. That's really what I see. That's my plan. To never stop growing, to never stop learning, to never be satisfied, to help others, to lead others, to inspire others, to help others change, to lift others up when they can't lift themselves up. That's what I see. That's my plan.